Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. And look y'all, I got my hair done. I'm looking all cute and shit, but I ain't gonna know what to do with me. I just got my hair done today, you guys. I feel so good about myself. I got a fresh relaxer. I'm not natural no more. Yeah. So I got me a fresh relaxer. And so yeah, today y'all, I wanted to come on here and talk about my baby. So I just wanted to do story time with us today. So my baby, in January, I don't know if this has to do with the COVID or stuff like that, but in January my baby was having difficulties. He just went to daycare, so I think he was like, he was in a month going to daycare. So after that, he got sick, but then he didn't get really bad sick, and then he got over it. Then my daughter got sick, and then I got sick. Well, she had an ear infection, I got sick, and then I ended up getting my baby sick. And then so he got so sick that I ended up taking him to the doctor, and they ended up, getting that snot out of his nose and stuff like that. And they was like, Mom, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if he's gonna be okay, bring him back, because he was like really, like, he couldn't breathe. Like, I was trying to suck the snot out of there, and I could never suck the snot out because it was so thick in there. So they diagnosed him with RSV then. So they was like, Mom, do you feel comfortable taking your baby home? And guess what I said? I said, yes, I feel very comfortable taking my baby home. I didn't want him to stay in the hospital, you know what I mean? So the next day, I think it was like the nighttime, he slept. The next day he was still, panting to breathe. But I was holding him, and he was head bobbing. Like, when they head bobbing, they struggling to breathe. They nose, started to separate. They was struggling. So I was holding him. He could barely cry. He was getting no sound out his mouth. Like, it was like really bad. And I was holding him, and I'm like, okay, don't worry about it. I'm just holding him. He was just there, limp on me. Like, basically, like the doctor said, he was passing out. So I take him back to the house. At first, I was like, I'm going to wait until my son get off of school, because this was early in the morning. I put him on the bus. I was like, I'm going to wait till my son get off to school. And my daughter was, I believe she went to school too. So I was like, I'm going to wait until my son get off of school, and then I'm going to take him. But then it was like an instant. It was like, just take your baby in. So I ended up taking him in. And once I took him in, all the doctors came in there. They took the baby from me, because I was in the little checkout place. They did his pulse, and it was like, Mom, we finna just take the baby. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm not thinking too much of it. I still had his car seat. I still had his bag and stuff like that, my pump, because I was still breastfeeding. So I had to get all that stuff. And then they was like, once I went back there, caught up with them, the nurse was asking me questions like, oh, hey, Mom, how long has it been? I told them, I was like, I was just here yesterday for my baby, and they said he was fine. He had RSV, all this stuff. And then I'm looking, he's in like a stabilized room now. So they take him. Then all of a sudden, I turn over, and I'm just like, my baby, they poking him now. And then I turned around, then a team of fucking doctors come in. You know what I do? I start bawling, crying. I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like, that's what I said. Now I got the fuck out of there. And I was like, I'm sorry. I gotta, I know you have my baby, but I have to get some air. So I go out there. I immediately call my fiance. Was like, babe, our baby, they just, putting all this stuff on him. I'm crying. I'm this and that. And I'm like, all of this, I should have stayed. I'm just, really, like, I have depression. So this really took a toll on my depression. And what was playing in my mind is my baby keep falling out of my arms. It was like he was basically passing out because he could barely breathe. He wasn't getting that much oxygen in because it was like he had so much snot built up in his lungs. So now at that time they diagnosed him with respiratory failure. So it gets real sensitive because it's like I'm replaying this whole system all over again. So they diagnosed him with respiratory failure, and they finally stabilized him. I don't know how many liters of oxygen. I'm thinking it was like 12. He was really on high liters of oxygen. They put him to the ICU, and I will put the picture up here. They put my baby in the ICU. And I was just like, I could not stay. And then I'm driving home. Now I turned off the music and everything. And I was just like, everything in my mind, just thinking my baby could have died today. If I would have waited till 3 o'clock, I would have had a dead baby in my arms. And the thing is that I was trying to say is why they didn't test him for coronavirus. Then we didn't travel out the state. What happened if he had it before? I got coronavirus, but what happened if I never had it, or this my second time having it? You know what I mean? At that time, they was telling me that it was a lot of babies in there that was sick with the same issue that Nayori had. Came in for respiratory failure or RSV, and they kept them. You know what I mean? So by this time, he's in ICU. And they tell me that usually it gets worse. They do a nurse assessment on him. They got stickers all over my baby head, face, and all types of stuff. And they was like, yeah, he could have seizures. He could have brain damage. He could have all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, my baby, my freshly newborn baby, mind you, he was born November 11th. This is January. He's only 2 fucking months. You know what I mean? 2, barely almost 3. I was just like, oh my God. I called back because I wasn't taking my depression medicine then. I was like, babe, you know what? I'm going to have to, take my depression medicine. And I got back on my pills. It was like my postpartum depression medicine. Got back on my pills. And so I go back to the hospital. My baby looking for me, and I'm picking him up with cords. He has not a voice. It was so bad. It was like he was trying to cry, but he doesn't have no cry. It was so bad. They was giving him Tylenol around the clock. They said the best thing for them to do is have him fight it off on their own. They did not give him antibiotics. They did have an IV on his feet. My poor baby. I think about the stuff that I went through. It's so sad. I never, ever want nobody's baby to ever go through that situation of what I went through with my baby. I'm telling you, it was rough. And then I had to go back home, still manage with my kids and my fiance, then go back to the hospital. The next day, he goes to a drop-down unit, and he's still on a high flow, nasal. And then they got to still peel tape off his face, my poor baby. And then in the ICU, they really don't like them to eat, so he wasn't eating. And mind you, I was breastfeeding, so I lost a lot of, building up supply because he was not breastfeeding. I was stressed, and then I was only breastfeeding when I got really engorged. So I think I lost a lot of supply. And so they was feeding him what they wanted to feed him. Usually I was feeding him 4 ounces every 4 hours, but they was feeding him every 2, but he didn't really want it and stuff like that. So by then he had the drop down unit. He had to get on the little small thing, not the thick thing, but the small thing. And so the small nasal, the regular small nasal that go behind your ear, not the large nasal cannon. So once he got down there, he went to the drop down unit. and the IV was still in him. I think they took the IV out the last day, and he took that shit off of him, you know, and he could breathe on his own. And I was like, well, he could breathe on his own, but you know, at that hospital, they want him to, you know, they want to slowly decrease his oxygen level instead of just pulling it off. But all I'm trying to say, guys, is that I went through some shit with my kids, and my baby is fine. He's 9 months and healthy. And what I was thinking to myself, beating myself up, saying like, maybe if I never did this, or if I did that, I would have had a dead baby, or, you know, kept just things just replaying in my mind that my baby just kept falling out and stuff like that. All I want to tell you guys is that we go through something as parents. Trust your instinct, because your instinct is always right. If I would have went back to the doctor that night, they would have kept him. But in my mind, I was like, I don't want them to do all this stuff that they end up doing anyways to my baby, but I wasn't really thinking, you know what I mean? So I'm happy I did take him back, because it wouldn't have been good for him. But I'm happy that my baby is fine and healthy. You know, I love my little Nayori. He's definitely a ball of energy. He's definitely a sweetheart. And he's definitely a big mommy's boy. So thank you for watching me. And I just want to pour out my heart of what I went through with my son. Thank you guys for supporting me and everything. And I love you guys. Thank you so much. And remember to like, because the more you like, the more that YouTube will show people, and the more subscribers I will get. And I will love subscribers. Thank you so much. Deuces. Deuces.